Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today I'm going to teach you guys everything I know about the act of leveling up deck leaders. So a few years ago I did a video showing the fastest method, but since that I've learned a lot. I've since optimized it, and I want to have a look at the fastest possible way to actually level things up in all capacities. I'm also going to actually compare to a previously used very popular strategy I think people are quite fond of. I do want to argue a case to not do that strategy, but I'll be going into that a bit later, so before that let's just focus on the fastest methods and we'll go through some more details than the previous videos I've done on it. Don't forget to keep mindful of the cards at the top right of the screen. They'll pop up anytime there's an old video I've done that's relevant to what I'm talking about in this video. Before we continue though, I do need to give a fair warning that even at the fastest capacity, this still takes an absurdly long time. So before that, if you have... where is it? If you have an Action Replay Max, one of these, or Game Shark, Codebreak, or whatever, don't do this shit. Go to my video, there's a code there to rank up all monsters to Secretary of Defense. If you have one of these devices, there's no point wasting your time doing the leveling strategy. Leveling strategies are for people who don't want to spend disposable income on 20-year-old cheating devices. The description of that video does have OmniConvert, or a link to OmniConvert, which you can convert the Action Replay Max codes to Game Shark or whatever. So if you have any of those devices, just go to that video, grab that code, convert it if you have to, enter it in. Don't worry about leveling because you'll be here for hours and hours. So don't do it. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't have such a cheating device, let's make this process as fast as possible. We want to waste as little time possible, and over time, things that are quite small make a big difference, trust me. So yeah, we have to be really precise. So, the XP values for ranking up monsters is insane compared to what you actually earn during a duel. Let me just state now that the fastest consistent way of doing this in any capacity is skipping turns as fast as possible. This is purely because we're making the enemy take as little actions as possible, and not just that, we're just removing animations and all this stuff that just actually takes a lot more time than people probably think it does. Removing all of these things like the transition between moving from card to card, battle effects, running over cards, playing cards out of the hand. We want to eliminate all this shit so we can just sit there and quickly pump points into our monster. But how do we do this optimally? So the best way is to actually set up a deck full of monsters that have incredibly high fusion synergy. For this example, let's say we want to rank up a fairy deck leader. The most practical choice is Dark Witch. You can bring 5 copies of it out because it's a fusion and it's level 5, so it has a full scaling of increased strength for same type friendlies. It also has an attack that's 1500 or higher, so if the enemy draws fusion material for it, they won't play it on Crush, and that's extremely important. So, if I just fill my deck with female fairies and light females, I'm pretty much guaranteed to draw a hand that can fuse Dark Witch straight away. So I'm going to be able to play one pretty much no matter what I draw. So that means on the first turn I play one, then I play one on the second turn, or the third turn, the fourth turn, fifth turn, then I have 5 out and I can't play any more. And this is also the case for the enemy AI. The more likely you are to draw Dark Witch in the first hand, the more likely the enemy is, and if they draw a combination that creates any fusion that has 1500 attack or more, that's the only thing they want to play, but they know it's going to die on Crush, so they don't play it. But because that's the only thing they want to play, they don't end up playing anything, ever. So yeah, the point of this is the enemy just doesn't even draw their hand because the first 5 cards they know contains a card they want to play that they can't play on Crush, so they don't even bother drawing a single card for the entire duel if you set it up correctly. That gives you free will to do whatever you want as quickly as possible. And if we do this, we don't have to worry about shit like activating Raigeki, Gorgon's Eye. It just makes things a lot smoother and a lot faster. So, this strategy, bringing out one monster at a time. Our first turn, with a face-up monster, we get 4 experience. That's how much you get for one monster being face-up. The second turn ends with 2 monsters on the field face-up, so that's 8. Third turn will be 12. Fourth turn will be 16. The 5th turn and everything after that will be 20 experience for our monster. So if we combine those first 5 turns to get 50 experience, and then the remaining 95 turns, we multiply that by 20, that gives a total of 1900 experience. So we get just short of 2000 experience basically doing this, and you could theoretically get more experience during a duel, but that duel would take multiple times longer. I'm actually going to go more detail because this fusion method isn't practical for everything. So what do we do if we want to level up a monster that isn't a fusion? That's something I get asked a lot, and I actually have a pretty simple answer for it. So this is totally fine if you want to rank up more than one monster. It honestly doesn't make a difference between ranking up 2 fusion monsters. Let's say I want to rank up Skull Knight and Roaring Ocean Snake, you know, because they're like 2 of the coolest cards in the game, surely. All we need to do is, instead of ranking up one fusion monster to SD and then the other fusion monster to SD after that, we just play, say, 3 Skull Knights and 2 Roaring Ocean Snakes for half that duration, and then 2 Skull Knights and 3 Roaring Ocean Snakes for the other half, and then they'll both get Secretary of Defense within the same time. There are slight disadvantages to this strategy, but it's kind of negligible. I think the main thing is, let's say, an optimal way to do this would be filling up a deck full of cards that have an attack higher than 1500 attack. That way, it doesn't actually matter what the enemy draws. They're literally guaranteed to not be able to play anything because every single individual card in their hand is a 1500 plus attack monster. If you construct the deck that way, it may be impossible to play the card you want to level up on the first turn, for example if it's more than 4 stars and you don't have a leader ability that lowers it. But that only really means you skip the first turn, so you're missing out on like 4 experience there. Like if you draw Skull Knight on the first turn, you can't play it, you just play it on the second turn. You miss out on 4 experience, like that's nothing. When you gain almost 2000 within one duel, it really doesn't mean anything. That is way more efficient than doing something like Raigekiing their monster if it's weak, and then playing Gorgon's Eye if they put anything in defense mode. I heavily would actually recommend this, just filling up a deck full of high attack monsters, no spells or traps, just bringing up the stuff you want to level up face up, and skipping turns. That's seriously my recommendation. Now there's another method that is possible, and technically the fastest way, like it's technically faster than the fusion strategy if you do it optimally, but it's way less consistent, so overall it wouldn't be. It's just flipping up Kage Ningen or Doron, and I recommend Kage Ningen over Doron for the sake of the Kage Ningen 3 in a row strategy that I did in the last video. It's very straightforward, you just need to play a Kage Ningen and flip it up, and obviously limited to 3 cards. I mean, even if you had 1 Kage Ningen, you could keep Darkness Approaching it and then flipping it up to generate more. But you only just need 3 copies of Kage Ningen, and then you play one, you flip it up, and it generates another one. You do that for the first 2. By the time you play the 3rd one, that's your 5th Kage Ningen, that's your max. But if you theoretically, if you drew Kage Ningen in your first 3 turns, you'd level it up faster than any other monster. But that probably isn't going to happen. The problem with this, though, is if the enemy plays Kage Ningen, if the enemy draws Kage Ningen on their first turn, they're pretty much guaranteed to play it. So you kind of have to do the old school strategy of including Raigekis to kill Kage Ningens, and then filling up the rest of the deck with like equip cards. So any card that isn't Kage Ningen, it'll just play in defense mode, and then you can just Gorgon's Eye it, and then it will never play anything else. That's basically the old strategy. That takes a little bit more time than just not playing spells or traps and setting it up so you don't have to play anything but the monsters you want to play. But when you're doing something like this, you kind of have to take liberties like that. There's really no choice. Okay, now to get to the best part. The part where I get to prove to people that I'm right and other people are wrong. So yeah, we're going to talk about the old leveling strategy. There's actually been a couple people that have uploaded this. Underlord Tico has uploaded it, and then another person by the name of Sinos Magician. Again, just a disclaimer, I don't have anything against the people who made these videos, I just kind of want to show that these methods are slower. The whole point of this strategy is that you're repeatedly destroying monsters, and the theory is you're going to gain a lot more experience per turn, which is true, that's still true. The problem is, the turns will take way longer. So even though you're earning like twice the experience per turn, your turns take more than twice as long, and it takes a much longer time to set up, so every time you do this, you're wasting like 2 to 3 minutes just getting to the setup point. And the latter video of these two actually contains some erroneous info. Bozu extracted the data from the game and determined the values for XP gain. I've made a video on that, which I think I referenced earlier. The important numbers here is that monsters gain 4 experience if face up at the end of a turn. The max monsters you can have out of the time is 5, so if you have 5 of the same monster, that monster gains 20 experience per turn you skip. However, if you destroy a monster, you gain 3 times its summoning level if it is a normal monster, and 4 times its level if it is an effect monster. So this method suggests that the player repeatedly destroy monsters for the entire duel. While this will clearly gain a net benefit experience, potentially more than double on the first set, it takes far longer to complete a turn, as I just mentioned, and yeah, it's just way more difficult and awkward to set up optimally. So I was actually figuring out how to optimize this strategy as much as possible for the sake of comparing it to the most optimized version of the current strategy that I'm talking about. The most optimal way to do this strategy actually would be to include as many 6 and 7 star effect monsters as possible, which would net 24 or 28 experience respectively when you destroy that monster. This would be the best way to do it because you're kind of limited to what you can use. There's one 8-star monster you can play out of the hand, which is Blue Eyes, which gives 24 experience, etc, etc. You don't really have a lot of high rank monsters apart from that you can play, and if you fuse 2 monsters to make Meteor Black Dragon, that would result in less of an XP benefit than killing the 2 materials for that monster. So it's really not efficient to just create like fusions or whatever for these high monsters. You'd rather kill monsters one at a time. So literally the best way to do this is 6 and 7 star effect monsters, a deck full of them. Because these would, give the most experience possible, 24, 28 respectively. But even if we do this, we're actually slower. As you can see in the footage here, I'm literally killing like 6-star monsters, 7-star monsters, some are effect monsters. We're getting more experience per turn than we do from having 5 face-up monsters. But because of the card playing and the battle animations and both the AI and us moving back and forth, it just takes so long, and I don't think people really thought about this. Like how much of a difference it makes, because it's still a turn, but the turns take so much longer. We've gone from like a full turn of both players taking a few seconds to taking like 10 to 15 to 20 seconds, depending on what they draw and what they play. And that's the peak of that grinding method. It's a bit of a joke. The whole point of this is you infinitely kill Wicked Worm Beast by the end of it, right? So inevitably, any deck's going to run out of monsters that are going to give 20 to 30 experience, and you'll be repeatedly killing Wicked Worm Beast. But the problem is, because it's a 3-star effect monster, you're getting 12 experience for killing it. So once you kill all the powerful monsters in a deck using this method, you're now earning like half the experience every monster you kill, and the Wicked Worm Beast has that animation effect, so you just lose like 2 to 3 seconds every time you're doing a turn like that, because it has to zoom in on the card, do its effect, zoom back out, and you're just fucking taking so long. Don't do it, please. And I'm not saying this because I want to be right so hard and I think I'm so great. I just don't want people wasting their time doing this inferior strategy because it's so outdated and it's so much slower. And another problem with this is it takes a lot of attention to do that. You have to be fixated on the screen and watch exactly what you're doing and keep track of everything to do this method. Whereas, if I just set up the thing to skip turns, I can just sit here and just press start for about 8 to 10 minutes. Watch some YouTube videos, watch my favorite TV show, maybe watch some of my videos while you're leveling up, because you'll be able to. When you go from leveling up using the old method to using this method, you're going to free yourself some time to watch some YouTube videos, so why not check out mine? I'll leave a playlist and a couple videos I recommend at the end of this video, and hopefully you guys enjoy those videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.